Hey garden friends, welcome to Flower Patch and welcome to my garden. Today I wanted to share with you some perennials and annuals that act like perennials that reseed themselves readily in my garden, and they may for you as well. And at the end or in the description box, I will have a link for a printable list that you can download and print at your leisure for these flowers. And it'll have a little bit more information on growing them as well as what they are. So let's get rolling on perennials that will reseed themselves for free flowers the rest of your life. So hi, my name's Pam and this is my garden here at Flower Patch Farmhouse. I garden in a zone 8B in the mountains of Northern California. I face a lot of challenges that many in my circumstances do have to contend with, but I still grow a beautiful garden, and I'm going to share with you some of my favorite perennials that grow themselves. First flower I'm going to share with you is pretty common, and it is the Echinacea. Now, many Echinaceas in my garden I started from seed. There's others that are hybrids, and those hybrids will not, they're called sterile hybrids, they will not grow from seed. So I'll point out some that you must buy the plant. Others that the seeds can be grown. This is common Echinacea, purple coneflower. Now here in this patch, I used to have a white swan. Now just so you know, when you let things like Echinacea go to seed and plant themselves, many times they will revert. They'll revert back to the common parent plant. Now that has happened to me. Even a white swan that the first year bloomed white, the next year will bloom like a muddy pink. It just reverts back. It is just one of those things. So if you always want to know you're going to have white swan or a white coneflower, get one of the sterile hybrids that is white, and or regrow from seed each year. Now you will get some come up white, but you never know. Like this one had been white, now it's back to purple or pink. Thankfully it is a beautiful pink. Last year I got some that were real muddy and I didn't like them. I'll share with you. Now look down here, you can see the seedlings that are coming up at the base of this plant, that from this, letting this go to seed last year. Now, to keep this blooming, I will keep deadheading for another month. This is July 12th. And I don't stop deadheading at this time of year. My first frost date is not until mid-October or the 1st of November. But I can let this go. I can keep deadheading it to keep it blooming. And then probably next month, I will leave some of the flowers to collect seeds from or to let them reseed. Now, another favorite. Well, you see back here, these are Shasta daisies. This is a variety, let me get down here so you can see me. This is a variety that is called crazy daisies. Now, if you've watched any of my videos, you know that these are my absolute favorite Shasta daisies. Now, one thing about them, they do reseed, but the seedlings are not always exactly the same as the parent plant. That is the beauty of crazy daisies. You never know what you're going to get. Now, I'll share with you over here. Now here's an example of I consider this a sterile hybrid. I have not had any seedlings come up from this. This is Daisy May from Proven Winners. And I bought it because it is reputed to bloom longer than the seed-grown daisies because it doesn't go to seed. I haven't experienced that myself, but you may have. So let me know if you have Daisy May and if it's done that for you. So anyways, I love it. It's beautiful. It stays a little bit more compact. It's a beautiful attribute of it. To get more of this one, you would have to dig it up and divide, which that's easy enough to do. I have a video on dividing daisies and potting them back up for more. So this is not one that you could expect to reseed. At least I haven't experienced it. I haven't researched it, but I'm assuming that it is a sterile hybrid. I think it's important to interject here for you. One moment is that you need to create bare soil around your perennials that you want to reseed, because if you have a thick mulch, it will prevent germination of those seeds. And isn't that what we mulch for? Now, I mulch with a organic turkey compost that I get from a local turkey ranch, that in bulk. And it is a rich, beautiful black color. I love the black dark underneath the plants. And the black mulches you buy, the wood mulches, are dyed. And they have toxins in them that leach into your soil. And I'm an organic gardener, and I just try to avoid adding toxins to my soil as much as possible. So that's why I use the compost instead of the wood mulch that's dyed. Okay, back to our video. So right here, this is Russian sage. This is taiga. It's spelled T-A-I-G-A. And I grew this from seed. And this one will reseed itself beautifully. This is too tall. I didn't want it in this spot, but it's where it came up. So I will move this come fall, if not sooner. But yeah, beautiful self-seeder that is also drought tolerant, has beautiful attributes. Many times, things will self-seed in areas you don't want them. And many times, if you dig them up when they're very small, then you can transplant them. But like black-eyed Susans, etc., when they get very big, they have like a deep taproot and they will not transplant easily, or like it when you I have transplanted them, they came through it, but it was a rough go. So if they come up like this one has in the pathway, then getting them when they're very small, digging them up, is the ticket. So keep that in mind with the self-seeders. I have a hummingbird. Right in front of me. They're busy out here today. This is not really a perennial, but these poppies reseed themselves so readily they behave as a perennial because they come up every year of their own volition from reseeding. But I was trying to focus on perennials today. I just couldn't help but show you that. The bees were so busy in it. Another one is up here. Let me get back in here without squishing plants. Feverfew. Feverfew reseeds itself like crazy in my garden. And I have different varieties. I have singles, I have doubles, and I even have a golden Feverfew. I shared that one in my cutting, pruning back perennial video. But yes, it's a beautiful filler. It makes a great cut flower, and it is just one of those plants that you can't kill. Black-eyed Susan. I have dozens of black-eyed Susans in my garden, and they reseed themselves readily. The beauty of my black-eyed Susans from seed are that I have planted several varieties that I started myself. Cappuccino, Indian Summer, I've done the Sahara mix. They all have different attributes, but then they start cross-pollinating, and then when they self-seed in your garden, they're always a surprise. You never know what the flowers are going to look like exactly. They have, basic shape, leaf structure, all that, but you never know exactly what the blooms are going to look like. Now, if you want to get started with a variety of black-eyed Susans, I highly recommend starting from seed. In fact, I should do a video, which I may, do a video of how to start seeds right now. This is mid-July, and to get started for next year in your garden, like have a dedicated raised bed that could be a nursery bed is what I call them, where you start seedlings rather than starting indoors in the winter, which I love doing that just because it keeps me busy. But it is so easy to do it right now. Now, when do you start seeds? Well, nature gives you that hint. When the plant goes to seed, then it means that it's ready to be planted in the ground. Now, that's just how nature works. The key is planting a lot of seeds when you start them outdoors in a raised garden bed or in a nursery bed area. That's what I call it. You can do it in the ground. It doesn't have to be a raised bed. You could do it in containers. I did a video of winter sowing, non-transplant winter sowing. And I started things in containers, what I wanted it to grow in rather than in a milk jug or other things. And I just direct sowed them in containers where they were going to stay. And it worked beautifully. I'll share that maybe at the end of the video. These are the snapdragons that I seeded, winter sowed directly in this tub. And look how beautiful they are. It was in my winter sowing, or non-transplant winter sowing method. And it worked beautifully. And snapdragons, I don't know if this variety, this is one of, I think this was Madame Butterfly Rose, I think. And I don't know if they're perennial for me while other snapdragons are. So we'll see. We'll give it a test. But they did beautiful in their container. Here is another selection of Rudbeckia that I absolutely love. These are the Sahara mix Rudbeckias, black-eyed Susies, and I love the double petals. This one is a more subtle color than my common Rudbeckias. I love Indian Summer as well. It's a beautiful one, and Cappuccino. Cappuccino is gorgeous. But if you notice, look at this one. This one's like a cherry colored, and this one reseeded from this one, and it came out this color. So when you get a mix like that, they have the genetics that they can come up in a variety of colors when I let them reseed. So absolutely gorgeous and love it. Yarrow, it's another beautiful one that's so easy to start from seed and reseeds. This is a beautiful pink. I grew different mixes like summer berries. I did an apricot mix, which I can't remember the name of, but when you do search for Yarrow seeds, you may find it. I was so inspired by the Mendocino Botanical Gardens. They had huge patches of Yarrow in that peachy color mix. It was just gorgeous. Now these, they're so easy to start from seeds. Why buy an expensive plant to put in? Just grow them and you will have them forever. Now there are a couple of, regular ones that are rather like a bully, like the white, and there's a yellow that many people consider invasive. So go with the color mixes. They're not invasive, but they do reseed readily. And some people feel that plants that reseed themselves so well are invasive. They're not. They can be aggressive, but if you know how to keep them deadheaded or whatever, you can maintain them and keep them in control without worrying about them taking over your garden. And when they're small, they're very easy just to hoe up rather than, worrying about pulling them individually. Also easy to pull. So yeah, Yarrow, another beautiful one. Gaillardia, can you see this? I'll bring you up close. Gaillardia is another beautiful one that reseeds readily. I have tons of seedlings down in here of the Gaillardia. Fills in, loves the heat, and just is beautiful nonstop. Now there's a bunch of seed heads coming on here. And when I bring you close up, you'll see them. Now I could deadhead them back, keep this from going to seed so it'll keep blooming. And then towards the end or middle of August, I will let it go to seed if I want to. And you can collect the seeds and start them yourself. That's another one, Cleome. This one's not in bloom. I'll just put up a picture of it in bloom, and you can see how beautiful they are. I started these inside. I haven't had Cleome for a few years, so I decided to go ahead and start some more, and I'll let these reseed themselves in mass. And then, I'll just dig up the ones I don't want, transplant them, and or give them away. And another plant that reseeds for me is this meadowland sage or salvia. In fact, behind me, I have a seedling. Let me see if you can see it from here. Right back here. Yep, there's a seedling, and then here's a seedling, and they're already blooming. They're very small plants, but they are blooming. Now, there are 2,000 varieties of salvias. So there's one that's going to be perennial in your garden. You'll probably find one. And there's plenty that grow from seed or reseed. So always look and see what will do best in your area with your conditions. It will not be only your zone that determines whether or not you can. So right here are the remains of my foxgloves that I had growing or blooming not that long ago. And as, you can't see, they are going to seed. Now I let these continue on instead of cutting them back. I could have cut them back and I could have got some more blooms. And I did pull out a bunch that were in areas I didn't really want them at the moment. But collecting seeds, and I have a video, it's older, the audio's not that great, on how to collect foxglove seeds and spread them throughout their garden. I have grown foxgloves for 40 years, and I've never had any issues with toxicity. Now, I don't eat them. My animals don't eat them. They're in areas that the animals don't go, so I get it. They are toxic. If you want to eliminate them from your garden, that's fine. But I've had no issues, and I will continue to grow them forever, as long as they'll grow in my garden. But collecting the seeds or just letting them go to seed in place and come up is what I do. Sometimes I will transplant them. Like if this seedlings popped up, if these were on the ground now, and the seedlings popped up here and I didn't want them here, when they're very small, I would move them to other parts of the garden. And transplanting them when they're young is perfect. And they will bloom next year because even though they're a biennial, meaning many of them will grow the first year and then bloom the second year, if you let them seed in the summer, they will bloom the following summer. So that's how I do that. Now, tons of seeds. We're going to put it down there. There are different cultivars that they bloom the first season. They're usually shorter. I think Foxy Mix is one of them, and that's a lot of times what you get in garden centers. I love the tall ones, but that's being that. And there's lots of mixes that have different attributes that you might want to check out. Like there's these, I think the Excelsior or the Candy something. The blooms go straight out rather than drooping down. And there's all kinds of colors. Many of them are going to seed, and that's these Larkspur. Larkspur really are an annual, but they reseed themselves so readily that they behave as a perennial. Now, this is an area that I have just let them go in, and I will edit out some because there's something I want to do in this garden bed. But don't they look gorgeous with the black-eyed Susans? These are also volunteer black-eyed Susans. Now, I wanted to show you these. Look at this one is pure yellow, and this one is yellow with a dusting of red in the center. I'll bring you up close that you can see that. And I'll bring you up close to this daisy here, which is another crazy daisy. And you can see the dramatic difference between this one and the one we saw in the entrance garden. So also I'll bring you down here and you can see another plant that is perennial, comes back every year, so beautiful. And I have 3 different colors of it. I'm going to get more. This is my wedding candles verbascum. I started from seed. This one actually self-seeded itself as well as that one there. Right now, I need to prune them back a little bit. They just have a few flowers on them, but they're so popular with the bees. It will put out more blooms. I have a purple one over here kind of hiding. I'll show you what it looks like in full bloom. This one blooms earlier. And I will cut this one back and I'll get another flush of blooms as well, though it's a little crowded back here and not getting as much sun. Southern Charm I have in the entrance garden over in the Goth Garden area, and it blooms the earliest. No, I shouldn't say that. The purple blooms the earliest. So I'll show you pictures of each one of them in full bloom and how gorgeous they are. But they are a beautiful self-seeding perennial in my garden and reliable every year and very popular with the pollinators. I think that's it. Now I wanted to share with you this poppy here. It's called Moroccan poppy. I was gonna turn it towards you so you could see. I just didn't want to disturb the bumblebees. But this thing, all my poppies are just bee magnets. But this thing, you see these seed pods, I need to cut them off so it keeps blooming. I have collected some seeds, but this is a perennial poppy that is just beautiful, comes back every year. I love that it has this creamy orange. It's not an in-your-face, holy smokes type orange, but yeah, it is a beautiful one. If you can find the seeds, now remember, it's a Moroccan poppy. I got this plant at Annie's annuals. Now it is Curious Flora. And if you could see down here, there's some more buds on it coming up. It's going to bloom some more because I deadheaded it. Now some of them, like I said, later on, many of them I will let continue to go to seed later on in the season. I will not prune it back, and I will collect more seeds. Now it has been very popular in the past with the gophers, and they ate it. I thought I had lost it, so I want to make sure I have a bunch of seeds to start and continue on the legacy. Now this beauty right here is Jupiter's Beard. This one, a lot of it has gone to seed. I need to prune it back to continue getting bloom. Yeah, it has. See, these little fluffy pods are the seeds, but this reseeds itself all over the place. In fact, this one up here towards the front, I didn't want there. It self-seeded itself there, and I haven't moved it yet. So that is another winner, and I have the white one in the entrance garden that I've shared in the past, and it's the same thing, just white. You see this beautiful specimen? This is rose campion. This thing reseeds itself. You can even see here's the little seed pods developing on this plant. Now I will many times come in and I will chop back the plant about, well, probably another week. Or I can go in and individually deadhead, and then it will re-bloom. But this has the most beautiful fuchsia colored flowers that are so bright, and then the fuzzy stems. These can be deer resistant because of the fuzziness of them, and you'll see them around our area along the roadside where they've just come up. So yeah, over here you can see mixed with it is a Feverfew that has reseeded itself. This is one of the doubles. And it's just beautiful. Sometimes the best combinations in the garden are the ones that plant themselves. And here's another rose campion that has reseeded itself. I need to take you to show you my white and pink one. And that one also has come back from seed of its own volition and spread around the garden. So this is the white and pink version. I have one up front that's completely white. And then there's this one that has a little bit of pink in the flowers, and I just love it. And it does the same as the regular rose campion as far as reseeding itself quite readily. So right back there with the purple flowers, let me zoom in. It's in an awkward spot, but that is a hardy geranium called Bill Wallace. And that one readily reseeds. Many of my other hardy geraniums are sterile hybrids, which I like those to be, because some of them are that are seed grown are very aggressive, and they become kind of a weedy pest problem. But Bill Wallace is very easy to pull up. It fills in beautifully. It's very delicate. It starts blooming very, very early in the season, and if you keep deadheading it, it will keep on blooming. And to make sure you don't get too many of them reseeding in your garden, you just keep on deadheading. But I wanted to share that one. That one's different. I'm going to see if I can collect seeds this year to start in areas I want them to start instead of just letting it go on its own. And then we'll see how that works. I have dug up the seedlings, and this was one of them I dug up and set here purposely. So we'll see if I can collect the seeds, because I know they're not readily available. So we'll see on that. Now, I know you can see down in there, I won't get too close because I don't want to disturb the bumblebees, which they just are massively busy on the California poppies. But below, you see the white alyssum. That all it has come from seed. Now, I know they're not perennial everywhere, but they have been for me here, and they readily reseed themselves so well that they behave as a perennial. So even if some of them got froze back in winter, they have scattered so many seeds. Now these I started from seed. I got the seeds from Botanical Interest. I'd have to get the name for you. It is not coming to mind, but they stay short, full of big fat flowers. I've grown other varieties that they were kind of weedy looking, but this variety has always stayed very compact and filled with white flowers, so gorgeous. So garden phlox. This beautiful garden phlox, kept deadheaded, will keep blooming, but also you'll get seedlings. Now the common garden phlox, many of them, like I have David, which is a pure white. and it's a little bit later blooming, but it starts to become a bully, so I keep it in a container. But others are tamer and will not do that, and they readily start from seed. There's also annual phlox that you could start from seed and be beautiful. Just another patch of poppies that reseeded themselves here. They're totally wrong spot, but I know how much the bees love them, so I'm letting them go. I probably will pull these out in a week or two, but just know that poppies that seed themselves act like a perennial, come back every year. I even have some by the roadside that is drier than dust, and they still came up and bloomed. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I wanted to add one more, and that's agastache. Agastache or agastache, there's many ways people pronounce it. It's also called hummingbird mint. Not only can you grow it readily from seed, but you can also, it will also reseed itself, and it's a perennial for many zones. In my printable list, I will have where these perennials are perennial at, that are hardy. In my downloadable list, it will have a notation of what zones these plants are hardy in, so that you would know whether or not they will work for you as far as being perennials. But when they come so readily from seed and they reseed themselves, you might be surprised at how they behave as perennials, even if the original plant doesn't survive the winter. Hopefully that made sense to you. So don't be afraid to give them a try. And if you grow some from seeds, the seed packets are so inexpensive that it's worth a test run. Or if you want to buy a plant that will reseed, go ahead and do that. Let it reseed readily and see what happens. Some in my garden reseed well in one area and less well in other areas. So also don't be afraid to move plants around. So I hope this gave you some inspiration on what you can expect. Most of my garden, I would say, I'm thinking this through, are flowers that reseed. And when I worked full time, I used to run a home cleaning business. And after a full day of cleaning, I would come home tired and just want to enjoy the garden, not necessarily have the energy to work in it. And the self-seeding plants that just filled in did the ticket. They provided me with the beauty and the loveliness that I wanted to enjoy without much work on my part. And when they fill in so thickly, you really don't have as much problem with weeds. I found a few bindweeds that came up, but hardly any weeds. And pathways, I didn't have time to maintain fancy pathways. So all I would do was weed eat the weeds down where I wanted to walk. And that was my path. It worked for me. And it was low maintenance. So there's always a method to the madness, that you can do it even if you don't have very much energy. Just be content with what you can do. That is where sometimes I fail. I'll see how somebody's doing something on YouTube and whatever, like, oh, I want that. But it's not something that's easy for me to maintain or something that will thrive in my area. And the ticket to easy maintenance garden is another thing, growing what will thrive in your garden area. And that is not always dependent upon your zone. I talk about that at length in a dedicated video on what zones mean and what they don't. And I will link that in the description box below too. And don't forget to go and get your printable. It will sign you up when you fill out for the printable for my newsletter, but that is very easy to unsubscribe from. So no worries there and no hard feelings. I hope you get to enjoy your garden today. I know I am. It's going to be a hot one, but I'm going to be out here anyways. I have sprinklers. Sometimes I turn on misters, sprinklers. It's all good.